Hey guys, what's going on? This is Dr. Matt Wennimg at winningstrength.com. And today's video is a little bit of a different video. We're going to go over the top things I think a hardcore gym needs in order to build champions and also do it safely. So before we get into the video, why don't you comment down below and tell me what you think these particular pieces are going to be. The people that come up with the best descriptions and why they think these other pieces are necessary is going to win a free manual from winningstrength.com. So go down there, fill it out, and then share the video around, and then let's get a winner. So let's dive into the topic. The first thing every good gym needs is a good power rack. You have to have a good power rack to do a lot of different exercises. Squatting, deadlifting. Well, you don't really need a rack to deadlift, but you do for pin pulls, light and method movements, pull-ups, bench pressing, weight storage like the one mine has is also a huge bonus if you have that. The ability to attach bands to training is also another key ingredient. But the squat rack is one of those particular pieces that's just non-negotiable. You're going to have it to do a lot of your main lifts, especially if you have a garage gym. The next piece that I think is super important is making sure that you have sleds. So sled dragging has been around for a very long time, but made mostly popular by Louis Simmons in the 90s and the 2000s on dragging sleds to increase the deadlift and the squat. But what I have found with both military, fire, policemen, people that I train at the gym, and powerlifters alike, sled dragging is not also a great GPP tool. It's also a great hypertrophy tool. So if you're looking for better glutes, better hamstrings, better quad development without as much or zero spinal compression, the sled is a great idea. The sled is also another great idea for doing back work like rows and overhead tricep extensions, to name a few. So it's a great versatile piece of equipment that I think everybody should have. The next thing that I think is really important, again, is a reverse hyper. Reverse hypers have been around for about 30 years, but they're still not in every gym, which is unfortunate because I think that the reverse hyper is not only amazing for your lower back as far as health and longevity, but it's also amazing for developing, again, hamstrings and glutes, and also developing deadlifts and squats. Most of the times in these big compound movements, the limiting factor is going to be your posterior chain. So having a reverse hyper is a huge advantage in your facility, and if you don't have one, you better grab it. The next thing I think is important is to have an amazing hamstring curl machine. You could have one standing up or one laying down like what we have at the gym. I have one standing up at the house and one laying down at the facility. But being able to isolate and train hamstrings is a huge deal because most people have a quadricep to hamstring imbalance. This machine will actually help alleviate that and fix it over time. The next thing I think that is hugely important is having a good set of chains. So chains are a form of accommodative resistance that get heavier as you rise and lighter as you lower, effectively canceling out your strength curve. But it's also pushing the strength curve further up the hill so that you're able to lift heavier weights faster. With normal weights, what you're going to start to find is that you're going to have the hardest part is at the bottom and the easiest part's going to be in the middle and the sticking point. With chains, you almost reverse that if the percentages of weight to chain ratio is correct. The next thing that I think every gym has, but it can't be understated, is having a good set of dumbbells and a good set of kettlebells. With dumbbells and kettlebells, you can almost replicate about any exercise that you want to replicate. You also do this in a unilateral sense, meaning that one arm is working instead of both arms are working. So even if you're doing dumbbell presses with both arms, they're still individually working away from two separate objects. This causes more stability, more balance, more coordination, just a better overall way to train, especially when put in for things like winning warm-ups and stuff like that. Kettlebells are also very versatile, especially if you're, kind of blocked for time and you don't have, or space, and you don't have a lot of space to train. Kettlebells you can do a lot of different shit with. You can do cleans, snatches, you can do depth jumps, you can do kettlebell swings to the eyes, to the overhead. You can do squats with them, deadlifts with them, RDLs with them. The list goes on, but I think that every hardcore gym is going to have a set of dumbbells and kettlebells. You can get away with having one or the other, but it's a good idea to have both. That way you have variability. The next big thing that we see in most gyms, but a lot of times we don't see them with enough of a heavy stack, is a lat pull down machine. Lat pull down machines are amazing for tractioning the shoulder, building the back. If it's built correctly, you can do tricep push downs with it. There's just a lot of things you can do with the lat pull down machine, and it fixes a lot of people's weaknesses on the posterior side, namely the upper back. The next thing that gets a little bit more special is having a deadlift platform with band attachments. So a deadlift platform with band attachments helps tremendously, not only giving you a place to deadlift safely, but also giving you a place to attach accommodative resistance. So with band deadlifts, you're able to effectively increase the weight as it rises. Once you have been training for a while, you'll start to realize that in deadlifts, most people don't miss the weights off the floor. They miss them anywhere from 1 to 3 inches off the floor or 1 to 3 inches from lockout. This can be for various reasons like leverages and other things like that, but a deadlift platform with band attachments is definitely needed as well. The other thing that we're going to need, which is in a lot of other gyms too, that may not have a heavy enough stack unless you're in a good gym, is a cable crossover. Cable crossovers we can use for tricep pushdowns. We can use for face pulls. We can use for lateral delt work. We can use for cross body work. We can use for some limited pec development. There's just all kinds of shit we can do with a cable. Cable resistance can be a little bit different than doing things with free weights based on the fact that the stack stays the exact same weight throughout the entire range of motion. As we can see why we need change with free weights, because our strength curve changes, and the ability to have something that maintains a constant weight is also a big deal. Last and most, probably not most important, but very close, is having a good set of bands. A lot of the places where I get my bands are from Elite FTS. If you're on top tier Patreon, you can get a pretty significant discount code, but band tension is huge. We can almost replicate anything with bands. But I find that most of the time when I look on the internet, most people have the bands set up incorrectly. If you want to check that out, go to wenningstrength.com and download the Bands and Chains manual, and it'll give you a really good setup on how you should be using these pieces of equipment, because trust me, I see it messed up a ton. So I hope this helps you guys out a little bit if you're building a hardcore gym or you're trying to decide where to go. Don't base it on how nice the restrooms are. Don't base it on how clean the floor is. Base it on these pieces of equipment and watch your lifts increase dramatically. Talk to you guys soon.